Joe Frechette. My name is Nigel Doucette. I've been operating Steadicam for 2 years now. How long have you been operating Steadicam?
I think it's been about 2 years as well. I think we're in the same boat.
Yeah, exactly.
Both 2 years.
Yeah, we just wanted to give a brief demonstration about how the Steadicam works. We'd love to answer questions afterwards. Let's start with a brief history. The Steadicam was invented by a man named Garrett Brown. Oh, yeah. We have a few people who know him here. It was introduced in 1976 and was first used on a movie called Bound for Glory. Later on that year, it was also used on Marathon Man and Rocky. In fact, if you watch Rocky, you can actually see Garrett Brown running around in a wide shot. So it's.
And if you're a fan of Star Wars, the Endor sequence when they're in the speed bikes, that was him running through the woods.
Yeah, of course. So.
With the rig sideways.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
With
please.
it sideways.
Questions till the end, please. Thank you very much. We wanted to discuss how the Steadicam works. It's all based on balance. It's all balanced on this gimbal right here. Mine is balanced neutral. He has drop time on his. But it works on basically the operator's balance. So my hips are the operating tool. If I lean forward, the Steadicam leans forward. If I lean back, it leans back. So you have to be in a perfect alignment with yourself. When you're standing up straight, it's standing straight. Do you want to put it on and we can demonstrate?
Sure, let's do that. So this is you throw on the vest here. Sorry. Please ignore the sound.
So, oh. Sorry. We're operators, not sound mixers. You good?
This is going real well.
And then you got muted. So the most important part, I think, is the vest. The vest is fitted to every operator. Mine, personally, by Walter Clausen, is custom tailored to me. I went to his shop, his old shop, and he measured my body, and it's made specially for me. I believe that yours is a smart system. Sorry. Just let me know when you're ready, okay?
Good.
It's been personally adjusted to Joe's body, so it fits his height and his waist size. Now he's attaching a spring-loaded arm, which allows to dampen the steps of the Steadicam operator when he or she moves. Next, he'll pick up the Steadicam. It's my favorite part. And as you can see, the Steadicam is balanced to stay in an upright fashion and keep his horizon level. And as he walks, the Steadicam maintains a consistent frame, and he can adjust the height, the tilt, and the pan. And if it's a funky music video or a sci-fi shoot, he can adjust the Dutch as well. Ooh. Thank you very much, Joe.
You're welcome.
We wanted to discuss, some famous Steadicam shots you may have seen. The Shining is a very prime example of the creator, Garrett Brown, demonstrating the Steadicam's use is one of the first times. The Revenant was a great example recently within the last 10 years. I forgot, that was Scott Sakamoto.
I think so.
Some great Steadicam shots in Toronto. Have you ever seen the movie The Jumper? Very famous film by a very famous Steadicam operator, Keith Murphy, who we actually have here. So he'll be asking some questions later on. Goodfellas, of course. Larry McConkie was in Toronto a couple months ago, actually, at the Walter Clausen Open House, and I fanned out a little bit. I don't think he knew I existed, but he operated the very famous shot on Goodfellas, tracking down the staircase into the restaurant. Let's chat about what the Steadicam can do. It can keep a steady shot while moving. It's not as good for stationary shots, but of course, if you need to capture an over for a scene, it's good for that. One of the downsides of the Steadicam is it's not good going between modes. It's either up in regular mode or low, as we call it, low mode. So there's a bit of transition time in between there. Anything else you'd add?
Yeah, like Nigel said, it's really good for really good for moving shots. Being in an open space, it's a bit more limiting if the space is very tight and enclosed. You can do it depending on how much wiggle room you have, but it does limit you there a little bit.
Yeah. It can be mounted to ATVs. Have you ever seen really fast moves in a car for like a James Bond film? Most of the time they'll have a remote head, but it can be mounted to vehicles, or it can be mounted to rickshaws for a chase sequence or running sequence. You need a lot of speed and a lot of motion.
Yeah, it can go on the dolly as well with the same tool, hard mount. So.
Yeah. So let's discuss the different capabilities of our particular piece of gear. As I mentioned earlier, I have a Walter Clausen harness. Walter Clausen lives in Toronto. This is a Canadian-made product I absolutely love. And the difference between my vest and Joe's vest is mine is what's called a back-mounted vest. So therefore, the mounting point of the vest is at the rear and juts off to the side here. Now, the benefits of this vest are that it's more ergonomical for my body. It distributes the weight better between my legs and not so much on my lower back, which other front-mounted vests can have. Downsides of this vest are it's quite wide at the side, so you can and you will hit doorways and other objects that stay in your way. But in my 3 or 4 years of owning this vest, I haven't chipped it too bad. You see any paint back there? No? Okay. You want to talk about your vest, Joe?
Yeah, so as Nigel said, I have the Smart System Vest Lite, which is a front-mounted vest. As Nigel was saying, it's a bit harder just because of the way it pushes against you. So you feel it a bit more on the back. I think endurance-wise, it's a bit harder on you, but I like it because it's the thinner profile, and yeah, I don't know. I've tried a back mount vest, and I just found it to be a little wide.
Does it come in other colors, or?
No, just black. It's not custom like yours, but it's a one size fits all. You know?
And a spring-loaded arm. Mine is a G70X. I believe the 70 refers to the amount of pounds it can carry. Sometimes it feels like it's more weight than that, but
yeah, and I have the ARM X1, which is also by Smart System. I have their whole ecosystem. This can hold, I think it's about 74 pounds, so around the same range as Nigel's. So.
Sorry. I always got to pretend like it's heavy so the director can hear you. My Steadicam system is a Betz. It's a German brand. I think you have a piece of Betz gear on yours as well.
Yeah, I have the Betz Wave on mine, which is a horizon stabilizer, so it keeps your horizon level when you're using it.
Yeah, and my system is the Volt system. The Volt basically acts like a brushless gimbal, which can also affect and stabilize my tilt axis and my horizon, which allows me to do some pretty crazy moves without having to stabilize it with my hands. I can adjust the tilt and my horizon and keep it there. Tilt up and down to adjust for headroom. And if I were to, for some reason, have to Dutch my camera, it'll return back to its original position with the motors. This is a relatively new system, and personally, I love it. I took 2 workshops and we trained without it, so I think it's important to learn the Steadicam without it. But as a tool, it allows you to pick up the Steadicam and make quick adjustments without worrying about the balance or if you're going to throw off your horizon.
Yeah, I have as I said, the Wave on mine, which is by Betz. And what it does is just keeps the camera centered, keeps the horizon level. I went with the Wave just because all of the cables and stuff like that on the Volt scared me. So I just wanted to use the Wave system. It is, I do have to, I don't have anything that will lock my post position or anything like that. So I do have to keep a hand on it. And, you know, my tilting is a bit harder, but, you know.
That's okay.
I like it as it is, so it works for me.
I think the fun part about working with the Steadicam is that anything the director or the DP visualizes, most of the time they can achieve on the Steadicam. And I think that you can use very dynamic camera movements in order to tell your story. Whether it's walking with an actor down a hallway, up and down stairs sometimes, or you know, in any circumstance you can think of. It's a very versatile tool, and it's a great way to tell a story. Some of the limitations, you know, it's not as stable as a dolly, but it can get to places that a dolly can't, for example, on rough terrain, or over snow or ice, maybe not ice. But it's very versatile in that regards.
If you're up on a roof,
Yeah.
it might be harder to get the dolly onto the roof, unless you really hate your grip team. But, yeah. Anything you want to add?
Jeez. Let's talk about the Steadicam. I think sometimes it's intimidating to bring out on a project because there is an added cost as opposed to just bringing out either a regular operator or operating the camera on a tripod. And we wanted to discuss that. When renting a Steadicam, it comes with an operator who usually owns their own gear. And the gear is custom fitted to the operator. I don't rent my gear out. Joe doesn't rent his gear out. It's part and parcel with the operator, almost like a musician and his guitar. So There's the cost of renting the gear, which can sometimes be expensive because rigs can cost from, the low end for a professional rig like mine, $70,000 up to $100,000. This is money well spent because this is a very robust rig that has not so far done me wrong and will get me through most situations. There's newer rigs nowadays from other companies that can tailor to a slightly lower price range, which are just fantastic to work with. And if those are a lower bar for entry, you can probably spend between $25,000 to $40,000 on a Steadicam, depending on the vest, the arm, and the rig. Do you want to discuss the cost of entering your rig?
Yeah, mine was about, I think, 40, 50,000, something like that, all in. So a bit less than Nigel's, but still, it's a big buy-in. And like Nigel said, all of our rigs are custom to us. We all, if you look at how mine is set up versus Nigel's, they're going to be different. So that's really what you're buying into when you get a Steadicam operator, is how they've got their tools together. And then it's also the physical aspect, right? We trained for this. We work out for this. What else do we do for this?
I've taken a couple workshops, which are really, really important to my growth of this Steadicam. There's really one good one actually on my shirt here in Chester Springs, Pennsylvania, which actually is down there for the reason that Garrett Brown, the creator of the Steadicam, lives right nearby, and he makes personal appearances, which is really great to ask him questions and to hear his stories. So if you are looking to do a Steadicam workshop in the future, it's one I highly recommend. But they're all over. There's some in New York. There's some in Los Angeles. I took one in Brooklyn as well. And they go over the fundamentals. They're between 3 to 5 days. You stay there. You eat, sleep, and breathe the rig. You're there for 12 hours practicing with other enthusiastic up-and-coming Steadicam operators. And you can ask great mentors questions and hear their stories and get hands-on experience, which is invaluable.
Yeah.
What next?
Questions?
Does anyone have any questions? Yes?
You talked about the cost. What's the breakdown of the union, non-union, large budget, small budget? What's the range that you guys work to?
Mr. Murphy asked, for those who can't hear, what the range of rental for a Steadicam is. And I think on the high end, you can charge upwards of $2,000, $1,500 for a big commercial or a big shoot. Smaller commercials, I think that between union and smaller commercials, because the cost of the Steadicam and the high entry of maintenance and insurance and buying new batteries every couple of years, the average cost is about $1,000 for the day. I mean, that's a good price point of entry for one-day rental. When you're on a union show, for example, you tend to give the producers a bit of a break and offer them maybe a 3-day week for their rental, just to make it a little bit easier. And then you can do some music videos where they just give you a handshake and thank you for coming. It's going to be a lot of fun, but had a lot of those. Hi, go ahead. Jeez, there are so many different varieties of Steadicam. Back in the 70s when it first came out, the patent was held by Garrett Brown, and he licensed it to Tiffin, I believe. CP. Okay, thank you. Okay, you guys should teach the course. This is very good. So Cinema Products, since then, the patent has expired, and a lot of different companies, for example, Tiffin is a fantastic company. They're based out of the United States. There's Pro.
Aren't they European?
I'm not sure. Okay. Just go with it. There's a GPI. I mean, there's so many brands out there. As I mentioned, the Italian brand Smart Systems is a fantastic entry point. There's tons of information online. There's Steadicam forums. There's Facebook groups I'm personally a part of. And you have to try out which rig is best for you and see what suits your style. I really like the Betts rig. It happened, I bought it secondhand, and it works for me. Sir?
Yeah, so talking about, you said that different arms have different weight capabilities.
Correct.
Right? So do you ever find yourself swapping the arms to go to a lighter rig versus a heavier rig, or do you find yourself using your arm and adjusting for it?
That's a very good question. He asked if I ever swap my arm for different weights of rigs. Well, my particular arm, I only own one because it costs more than my car. But it is easily adjustable on the fly. Mine's what's called a toolless arm, which means that I don't need an Allen key in order to adjust the weights. So I have these knobs over here that say lift. And by putting the Steadicam, excuse me, I'm trying to talk.
Sorry.
By putting the arm under load, I can adjust the weight it can carry. And if it's a heavier camera, I dial it up. If it's a lighter camera, I dial it down. So as I mentioned, it's upwards of 70 pounds. It's pushing it at certain rigs. But it's rated for cinema cameras. I have had rigs that are too small for my Steadicam to carry. So you slap on weights, you slap on batteries. It gets quite ugly. You know, there's a lot of Velcro and duct tape involved.
I can add to this.
There we go. I'm having no luck with microphones today.
You're cut off.
Yeah, on my arm, it uses compression springs. So there's 4 of them, similar to the GPI Pro arm. So I get 4 blue springs, which are the lighter ones, and 4 black ones, which are heavier. So in terms of range, I think this arm can go as low as 12 pounds and then as high as the 74, 75. And it's just a matter of taking out springs, changing out springs, and adjusting them. You can adjust, if I weren't holding my microphone, you can adjust them with a Allen key to compress them or decompress them.
Yes, fantastic. I believe we had a question here in the front row. What's your name?
So I'm gonna ask you, how long can you fly before your super like exhaust? Like, obviously, I'm breaking the longest takes of life. What's a comfortable duration?
Ashley asked how long a Steadicam operator can carry the rig during a shot. And that's a very variable question. It depends on, 1, I believe, the shot. If there's a lot of motion in there, that can tire out a Steadicam operator. But 2, holding the Steadicam stable is probably one of the most challenging things a Steadicam operator can do, because it can be challenging. You have to keep your body so still, or else the most minute movement or adjustment can be seen in the frame. The other part is the weight of it. Heavier rigs can, tire a Steadicam operator out more frequently. So I guess it depends on the shot, the rig, the operator. I exercise on occasion, so I can carry heavier Steadicams and hopefully for longer. But anything to add?
No, I think you covered it. Just, yeah, depends on the weight of the camera, how much movement you're doing.
Depends if it's...
I find if you're being static for a long time, that tends to make me more tired. And then if I have to move after that, it's like, to me, it feels like you've turned to stone and you're kind of having to break your legs out to start moving again.
Yeah.
So there's that factor for me. But
It depends if it's after lunch and I had a lot of chicken and rice. I mean, that can really tire me out too. Go ahead.
So let's say you're a fresh Steadicam Op, you bought your rig.
Yes, I am. Yeah, go ahead.
And how do you go about getting those jobs when you don't have a reel yet? Because let's say you've just done the workshop and you've just, bought your first rig.
That's a very good question. He asked, how do you get your first work, and how do you try and procure more work when you don't have a reel? Now, traditionally, a reel is the best way, along with a resume, to getting a job in this industry, especially as a creative like an operator or a DP or director. So how do you get people to trust you? I think the answer is word of mouth. I mean, all the first contacts that I made were based on people that I'd known for many years as a camera assistant, which I did for about 10 years. So the people put trust in me that I was a pretty good second, moderate focus puller, and hopefully I'd be able to hold a frame as a Steadicam operator. And for this first couple gigs, I mean, their trust was a little bit tested, but they helped me through to get some footage early on, and just getting the experience and just getting the next job. Sometimes, especially on union shows, the show might not air for a year or longer. But music videos, when you're on the set, go talk to the producers, go talk to the DIT and say, may I borrow some footage, string together a reel. It doesn't have to be the prettiest thing, but it just proves that you can do the job.
All right. So how many people want to try playing with one of these things? All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to call up our talents. They're going to do a little bit of a performance for us.
Dans ma veste de soie rose, je déambule morose. Le crépuscule est grandiose. À l'aise, que tu puisses à l'aise. so alive.